Okay, so we learned last time the first part of chapter 10 in Yehoshua, and now we are going to learn the second part. It's start in verse 15, chapter 10, verse 15. So the topic of this chapter is the war of the south. Again, we have 4 wars or battles described in Sefer Yehoshua: the war of Jericho, then Ai, the third one, the kings of the south, and the last that is described is the kings of the north, next chapter. And we are here, according to what I think and what I explained last time, in the best moment of this campaign, meaning that everything is working perfectly. The combination between the human effort and the divine help is in its highest level, and the results are the best possible. The function of Yehoshua and the people is perfect. I mean, everything works. From here, we go down. Yeah, but it's always like that, right? It's like climbing to the mountain and then going to the other side, climbing to the next mountain, etc., until the Mashiach will come, B'ezrat Hashem. So why it's so perfect? As I said, it starts with a human initiative. Initiative, it's a word? Initiative, right, initiative. It's the human initiative when Yehoshua decided, he understands the situation, the kings of the south attacking his alliance, his ally, right, Givon, even though he could have said, they cheated me, I'm not into it, I didn't committed to help them. He decided the right decision here is to help for 2 reasons. First of all, ethically, they are my friends, even though it started badly, but now they are in my side, I must help them. And second, also, it's a military opportunity. Like we said, the main challenge is to conquer cities that are around, surrounded by a wall. And now all of the armies are together outside the cities. So this is our opportunity to do that. And then he's doing his move, which was very clever, walking all the night, surprising the enemy with the sun in your back, right? And in one hit, you won 5 armies, right? Instead of going each one. And when they are outside of the walls. And it was a success in the first moment, everybody, when they won the battle, and then they start running. And in the running, I mean, after the first victory that was all human, of course, Hashem helped. I'm not saying that Hashem didn't help, but it was, everything was natural in some way. Then the miracles comes to help to complete the mission in the best way possible. First of all, when they run away, the rocks from the sky falling on them and killing more than what the army killed, the stones from the sky killed. And then after that, by making the day much longer, right? So here, Hashem again is not doing everything. He's just helping in the unnatural way to the natural efforts, right? And well, this was a big success, like I said before. And then we have in verse number 15, Vayashov Israel v'chol Israel imo lamachane Gilgala. Then Yehoshua, together with all Israel, returned to the camp at Gilgal. We said that this same verse repeat in the end of the chapter, and there are 2 explanations. Or that he went back and then went again to the battle when he understood that the kings are in the cave, that's another opportunity, he came back. I mean, in the reality, it's a little bit hard to understand in this way, even though I made mistake last week. I said Radak doesn't know. Radak explained that was happened. Radak, Rabbi David Kimchi said they went back and then they went back to the battle. So this is, I mean, realistically, it's not so, doesn't make a lot of sense because it's very far away. They just worked all the night. They go back and then again go back. Too much. The other explanation, which I think it's more logical in the verses, is the explanation of Abarbanel that explains that this verse is like the general story, and now we are going to the details. It's happened in many chapters in the Tanakh. I won't give now examples, but I mean maybe one of the examples is when Yehoshua, when Yaakov slept in the night and when he fought the angel, right? There's two times it says that Yaakov stayed spent the night there, and it's much more logical to see it's the same sleeping, right? It's the same times. Anyway, so we saw like the war in general, and now we are going into the details. So inside the details, we have two topics here. First of all, the story with the 5 kings that we are going to see now. And after that, also the journey that they did to conquer all the thrones. So let's start with that. I just mentioned again what I said. It's Vayashod Yehoshua v'chol Israel imo. Yehoshua together with all Israel. So if we jump a little bit to verse number 29, you can see that these same words repeat many times. Vayavor Yehoshua v'chol Israel imo. Yehoshua proceed with all Israel. And then again in 31, Vayavor Yehoshua v'chol Israel imo. Yehoshua proceed with all Israel. And then maybe I jump one. And then in 33, and then in 34, and then in 37. And then in 39, etc. So you understand, right? All over the book, or the chapter, it says it's a lot of emphasis about Yehoshua, v'chol Israel imo. All Israel is with him, right? Like I said, it's the correction of this distance between Yehoshua and the elders in the story of Givon, or in the story of Ai, when the first war of Ai, when they went along without Yehoshua. So here, Yehoshua is with the people, the leadership inside the people, not the leadership in the parliament and the people in the streets, right? It's Yehoshua inside the people. Okay, so after all that, let's start reading. So we have the story here of the 5 kings, right? It says, the verse says, meanwhile, those 5 kings fled and hid in a cave at Makeda. Maybe it's again the opposite of what Yehoshua did. Yehoshua was with the people. The kings take care of themselves. The people losing the battle, so they are hiding. They are not with the people. Right? It's against the behavior of Yehoshua, the behavior of the king. So only the 5 kings, or maybe some people with them, are hiding in a cave in Makeda.
It's not unique. Also, Sodom and #1 kings, they run, and also in Nahal Kishon, what is his name?
Sisra.
Sisra, he ran away by
Sisra ran away. Okay, I mean, yeah. Okay, so I mean, of course, when you lose a battle, everybody tries to save themselves, right? Yeah. Save themselves. But we saw there is a description of the war in Sefer Melachim. I think it was Yoshia, that he was in the battle, and they
it's Yoshia.
The fletches, how do you say? The arrows. Right? They throw arrows on him. He was hurt, hardly, deadly, and he asked his servant to stay with him, to hold him, that the people will see him and not run away. So this is the other way of behavior. Even though you are in a bad situation, if you are really there, you stay there until the end with your people and not running away, right? Or we know also the battle of Shaul in the end of Sefer Shmuel Aleph. The battle of Shaul and Jonathan, they are staying until the last moment with the people. They are not running away. So here the kings showing other type of behavior of leadership, that when things going wrong, they are going to hide in the cave. Okay, anyway, when it was reported to Yehoshua that the 5 kings had been found hiding in a cave at Makeda, so Yehoshua now has a dilemma. Should he go there? I mean, even though they are inside a cave, it's something that means they should take them. It should take time and energy, right? Maybe in the cave they have how to defend themselves. There are some soldiers here with them. So Yehoshua think, should they go with them now and start with the kings? Because killing the kings or eliminate the problem of the kings, it's the meaning the final victory. because without the leadership, without the kings, the people won't do anything. Or should I keep running after chasing the people that are running away? Right? Should he go there or should he go there? So he decided the most important things now is to finish with the war, and the kings will wait for us. We don't want to lose them, to let them escape. So Yehoshua ordered, roll large stones up against the mouth of the cave and post some men over it to keep guard over them. But as for the rest of you, don't stop, but press on the heels of your enemies and harass them for the rear. Don't let them reach the towns. Here's the emphasis. Don't let them reach the towns. Once they are inside the towns, it's other story. It's a new war. And we will see that in the second part of this description, we see what's happened with the cities that they could arrive on time and the cities that they couldn't arrive on time. So he said, don't let them reach the towns, for the eternal your God has delivered them into your hands. When Yehoshua and the Israelim had finished dealing them a deadly blow, they were wiped out, except for some fugitives. What? Fugitives who escaped into the fortified towns.
So there is some people who survived.
Yes, some people survived. After all that, some people survived, and I will give you a clue. One of the cities, which is not in the path of the war, is Jerusalem. And like I told you last time, Jerusalem stayed in the hands of the Chivim until the days of David HaMelech. Right? So those who could arrive to the cities and close the city, it was other story. Right? So some of them could arrive to the towns. And here, Pasuk 21, the whole army returned in safety to Yehoshua in the camp at Makedah. No one so much as snarled at the Israelites. Okay, so here, I mean, we talked several times about the fact that a great part of the war is a psychology, right? And when it says nobody could open his mouth, or what it said, I don't know, what is snarled? Yeah, it's like making face, right? Against Israel, meaning that this power of Israel was now all over the state.
Everybody knows
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. But now I want to speak another point here in this verse that is interesting. It says, "Vayashuvu kol ha'am el hamachane." The whole army returned in safety. We tend to read it and pass it, but I think this is the biggest miracle here. When you go out to a war, always someone died. Always. You mentioned Milchemet Sheshet HaYamim. Milchemet Sheshet HaYamim, it's considered as the biggest victory of Am Yisrael, maybe in the history, but at least in the modern times. In the War of 6 days, died more soldiers, Israeli soldiers, than in other wars, than in Independence Day.
700 and something.
7,000.
Oh.
According to what I remember. I may be mistaken, but if I'm not mistaken, about 6,000, 7,000. You can check that in Google in the meantime. Yitzhak. But I think, I mean, there isn't any victory, any battle without nobody dying. Here, it's certainly a miracle that everybody came back in peace, right? What kind of miracle is that? This is miracle inside the nature. So we learned about it in Hanukkah. I don't know if you remember. I think that we should divide the kind of miracles to 3 levels. Let's say there's a miracle when Hashem changed the nature. Change the nature, for example, taking water, making them blood, throwing stones from the sky, stopping the sun and all the system of the sky in one place. These are miracles that breaking the laws of the nature. This is one level of miracles. For one side is the highest level, because nobody but God can do that, right? So this is the highest level of miracle. But for the other side, it's the lowest level in the meaning of how we connected to Hashem. It's the easiest way, right? You see that, you believer, you are a believer. You can't not believe, right? You cannot, we are getting closer to Shavuot. In Shavuot, it says that Hashem obligated Am Yisrael to get the Torah. Kafa alem ar kegigit. Put the mountain in top of them and said, if you get the Torah, okay. If not, I'm going to kill you. That's what the Midrash said. Maharal explained that in other way, that symbolically. What does it mean that he obligated the people to get the Torah, to accept the Torah? Explain that once they see these miracles, they don't have any free choice. You must believe. You sing the Mount Sinai with the voices, with the fire, with the voice of Hashem. How can't you believe? How can you arrive to a level that you don't believe? You are obligated to believe because you saw in your eyes. It's a miracle. It's something that you cannot explain in any other way. So you, by force, become a believer, right? So this is one. I mean, from one side, it's the highest level of miracles. From the other side, it's the easiest way to connect to Hashem. But there's another way, level of miracle. Another level of miracle, meaning that something that you don't break any law of the nature, but it's something that you wouldn't say, it's not logical that it's happened. It doesn't make any sense that a little state win other 5 in 6 days. I mean, it's not logical it's not something that naturally happened. Someone, Chas v'Shalom, is in an accident, the car did 3 rounds and he went out cleaning the dust and like nothing happened to him. It's a miracle? No, because nothing, it's inside the nature. It can't possibly happen, but it's not something that is very common, or you would say that would happen. Someone is very, very sick, and then there's a operation and he became totally well. Again, it can happen, but right. So the second level of miracles are things that are not. You don't expect them to happen. For example, going to a war with tens of thousands of people, and nobody get hurt, and nobody died. Everybody go back in peace. This is a miracle. A miracle inside the nature. So here we have in this war these 2 kinds of miracle, right? 2 levels of miracles, the unnatural miracle and the natural miracle. And then we have the third level of miracle. The third level of miracle, Nachmanides we say that every day in the tefillah, when you say V'haya im shamua, if you hear the words of Hashem, so the rain would come on time, and the harvest would be good, etc. So you're going to have a lot of blessing, right, in your what you are doing. So say Nachmanides, it's not something that is naturally related to your action. It's not like people who behave appropriately get rich or they have good life, and people that don't behave in the proper way get bad destiny or they have bad luck, right? It's not related to our ethical behavior and our material success. If we create this connection, if the Torah creates this connection, meaning that we can see that when we go in the path of the Torah, we get the blessing, and when we not, so this is again, it's a miracle inside the nature, because it's not a natural connection, and when it's happened, it's something that is some kind of miracle. And then we have the highest level of miracle, which is just the life. I mean, the fact that we breathe and we live, and we babies get born and flowers flourish and birds singing. This is miracle. We just used to it. We see it's a nature, but actually, who did all of that? And what are the rules of the nature that makes this happen? I mean, get used to it, but the fact that we are used to it doesn't mean it's not something that is come from Hashem. In order to see the miracle in this level, you need a big faith. And if you see a miracle and you believe, okay, this is one level of faith. If you see something unnormal, unnatural, and you say, wow, must be the hand of Hashem, you are a higher level of believer. And if you see just going on the street in the morning and see the grass, not the grass in the shops, I mean the grass growing, and the trees and the birds and whatever, and you can recognize that Hashem is inside all of that, this is the higher level of a believer. right, of faith. So here, I mean, we are in the second level. וישובו כל העם אל המחנה, the whole army returned in safety to Yehoshua in the camp of Makeda. And that is one of the miracles. Okay, anyway, now after they could finish the first round of war, they go back to the cave. I mean, if we are looking there, they were in Givon, which is on the mountain. They went down in Mevo Choron, Ma'ale Bet Choron. Let's go Ma'ale Bet Choron. Well, it's if you go up, it's one side, but if you go down, it's the other side, right? Until the cities of Makeda, and they could conquer the city, and then they go back to the cave. And here we have the story about the king. Vayomer Yehoshua, and now Yehoshua ordered, open the mouth of the cave and bring those 5 kings out of the cave to me. This was done. Those 5 kings, the kings of Yerushalayim, the kings of Hebron, the kings of Yarmut, and the kings of Lachish, the king of Lachish and the king of Eglon were brought out to him from the cave. What should he do with them? Send them to vacation in the Bahamians. So,
it's like Nuremberg.
Natural. So here it's not exactly like Nuremberg. They did the legitimate thing of defend themselves.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't do anything that I would say. I mean, they ran away. Okay, we say they escaped the people. Didn't happen. But it's not something that we can judge them ethically for doing a war. Right? They are defending the houses, the people. And here, not only that Yehoshua is killing them, he's trying to humiliate them. And when the kings were brought out to Yehoshua summoned, brought together, summoned all of Israel's side and ordered the army officers who had accompanied him, come forward and place your feet on the necks of these kings. They came forward and placed their feet on their necks. Yehoshua said to them, do not be frightened or dismayed, be firm and resolute. For this is what God is going to do to all the enemies with whom you are at war. So after doing this act of putting the legs on their necks, then after that, Yehoshua had them put to death and impaled on 5 stakes. So not only killing them, humiliating them before, killing them, and then hanging them. So, and they remain impaled meaning hang, right? No, it says Vaitlen. I mean, they were hanged, yeah. Yeah, and they remained impaled on the stakes until evening. At sunset of the long day, right? We are talking about. At sunset, Yehoshua ordered them taken down from the poles and thrown into the cave in which they had hidden. Large stones were placed over the mouth of the cave, and they are there at this very day. So if you saw a block cave around Mevo Bet Choron, don't get inside. So at that time, Yehoshua captured Makeda. I will return to that in a second. At that time, it doesn't say that time, it says that day, Bayom Ahu. At that day, Yehoshua captured Makeda and put it in its king to the sword, proscribing it. And every person in it and living, none that escaped. And he treated the king of Makeda as he treated the king of Jericho. So this is the first city that was conquered. Not only Sefer Givon, he started now a journey in the south, all these cities to try to conquer them. So let's go back now to the kings. I think this the question is, why did Yehoshua do that? Why did he put in front of all the officers, put the legs on their necks, and after that also hang them until the night? What was the purpose of that? What do you think? Should he have done that?
We are in modern times. We don't understand in any case.
I think this is a very big answer, a very good answer. I will talk about. Yeah.
As a warning to the other kings to attack.
Yeah.
This, if they lose, they're going to. This is what's going to happen. They'll run and they'll go away.
So it will save blood in the end. When you are showing a strong hand, you are preventing the next war, right? So I think that this kind of question, like Itzhak said, it's some kind of modern question. I mean, people that read this chapter 500 years ago, they wouldn't even ask this question. The question is if it's a good question or not. I mean, it's good that we feeling uncomfortable. I mean, at least myself, feeling uncomfortable with that, or it's not a good thing. I think this is part of the development of the world, and also in a positive way, I would say, in a progress, not in the progressive meaning of the word, and not there's election here, right? Soon, not in that meaning of progress. I mean, it's a progress meaning advancing in the ethical level that we live in. And I will give another example. It's the development of the Torah according to the same principles that never change, that are eternal. I give another example that I think it can explain that. When we read nowadays the Torah and about some sort of halachot related to women, we ask question. It looks like it's not fair. Why a woman cannot be a witness, according to the halacha? Or why the property belongs to the husband, not to the woman? And why does the boys are the one who gets the parents, the money of the parents?
Inheritance.
Inheritance.
There is more.
According to the halacha, the boy, the sons are getting the inheritance, inheritage, and not the daughters. So it looks to us unfair. Again, I'm saying the same sentence. A person that read that or learned that 1,000 years ago wouldn't have asked this question. So the fact that we are asking this question is a change. The answer would be the same, maybe. I mean, we would say it's still a woman cannot be a witness also nowadays. We won't change the halacha, but we will have to find explanation for that, which we wouldn't have to do 500 or 1,000 years ago. Meaning that we are trying, I don't think like it's apologize or excuses. We are trying to find a deeper level of understanding the Torah about what does it mean about the position of a man and the women. I mean, it's an interesting question that we may ask and maybe do class some other time. I'm not going to give the answer. I just want to say that the fact that we're asking a question that we wouldn't have asked 1,000 years ago doesn't mean that we are in a lower level. It means that we are in a higher level in some way. It's a progress of the world. The world goes toward some new times. It's interesting that the prophet says, I'm going to create something new. The female will turn around the man, to sovev. I don't know how to translate it. Yeah, nekeva sovev gaba means that she's going like to rule the man. So as part of the future, of the prophecy of the future, we are talking about redemption and better world. The relationship between men and women are going to change. What is the meaning of that? Meaning that in other world, I mean in the better world, the relationship would be different. It doesn't mean that we are going to change the Torah or the halachot or the laws. It just means there is some kind of progress we are doing towards something that is more ethical or more moral. So again, leaving the women aside here, I think that this is the same. The fact that we feel uncomfortable with that and we think we must find a solution or explanation, it may be a good explanation or bad explanation, but that we are discussing it, it's a change. It's a development of the way we study Torah, but it wouldn't change the Torah. I mean, what does it mean it wouldn't change the Torah? First of all, I assume that what Yehoshua did was a correct thing. Even if I don't understand or I don't feel comfortable with that, I assume that Yehoshua, if we don't see any criticizing in the verses, if we don't see that the Torah said what Yehoshua did was wrong, I assume it's good. Usually we related to these people as righteous people that did the right thing, right? And there are some explanation to that. So I only try to understand for myself, but I mean, it's not that I criticizing Yehoshua or something like that. So after saying that, now I try to explain. I mean, the basic answer is what you said. It was very important, the impression and the way the perception of the other nation of what are going to happen to them in the case of a war, it's a very, very important fact. It can save lives to our army, and not less than that, it can save their lives. I mean, creating the right image of we are not playing here, we are serious about it, we are going to live in the land of Israel, right? And we are going to clean the land of Israel, which they didn't do in the end, from any factor that is not totally committed to our way, to our path of being the nation of Hashem, won't be here. And that should be very clear. And also the courage of the officers of Am Israel, right? It says that he collected all the officers, all the commands, the mefakdim, the one who commanders, right? The commanders. He collected all the commanders around that. Was again because if you are not acting in this way, it's going to be worse after that, right? So it's better to do that in a way that it's make clear what are we talking about, what are the situation here. But it still has some limits, and it's still not until the end. So yes, there is a letter of Rav Kook where he explained things that look like cruel in the Bible that David did and Yehoshua did, and others. He said David is Moab. He said what it looks to us as cruelty, it wasn't possible to act in any other way in this time, where all the nation around were like, he called this the Evei Erev. The Evei Erev are wolves of night. It's a term. It's a term, that means the wolves are very cruel in the way they hunt, right? They just tearing all together while he's still alive, right? It looks to us, I mean, the wolf wants to live, right? But it looks to us as something cruel. It says the way the people behaved in this zone, in these times, it's something that it was other level of cruelty that we cannot even imagine. If we would have not done this kind of things, we couldn't survive in this zone, in this environment, right? You must behave in a way that people will fear from you, to frighten other people. When the people are frightened in some situation again, so you are prevent the next war. They must know, the bad guys must know you are serious. That's what. I mean, it's also political nowadays, how strong you should be against the terrorists, how strong you should be against, I don't know, the criminals, should we let them get inside the shops and take what they want, like I saw some videos about that. I mean, I'm not talking about the political, but generally, there is some line that you must put in the reality and say, we are not going to let you do this stuff. We must stop you, and we are very serious and firm in stopping that. And this kind of attitude can prevent the next wars, the next thief, the next whatever. Right? So that's the reason it was important to do that in that moment. Now let's see the rest of the chapter is basically the journey of war, what it did. I think that the long day ends in this situation with the kings. And after that, they continue, right? So it says, after Makedah, from Makedah, Yehoshua proceeded with all Israel to Livna, and they attacked it. God delivered it and its king into the hands of Israel. They put it and all the people in it to the sword, letting none escape. And it treated its king as he has treated the king of Jericho. From Livna, Yehoshua proceeded with all Israel, like we said, to Lachish. He encamped against it and attacked it. God delivered Lachish into the hands of Israel. They captured it on the second day. So now we can see that it's not the same day. I mean, because there are some that say that all this battle, all this journey, which I said it should take weeks, happened in one day. It's not happened. It didn't happen. It says the next day. Meaning that at least in this city of Lachish, they had to be there at least one day. We are talking after all the soldiers went out for the city were left almost empty, And then it's much easier to go, and you don't have to be there years in order to be able to get inside. And so again, they captured it on the second day and put it on all the people in it to the sword, just as they had done to Livneh. At that time, King Horam of Gezer marched to the help of Lachish, but Yehoshua defeated him in his army, letting none of them escape. Gezer is another good example. Gezer is a city in the Shfela. Nowadays, we don't have that. Yeah, it's in that zone. It says, close to Lod. Yeah, in the Shfela, it's between the mountain and the plain, there is the mid-side, so this is Gezer. And Gezer was independent city until the days of Shlomo. It's almost in the heart of Israel, in the middle of Israel. They couldn't enter Gezer, they just left it. The king that went out from the walls and go to help Lachish, he was defeated. But the town itself survived. We can see that Gezer is independent until the days of Shlomo, right? Long, hundreds of years later. Because once they not outside the city, it's much harder to take them. And then from Lachish, Yehoshua proceeded with all Israel to Eglon. They encamped against it and attacked it, and they captured it on the same day and put it to the sword, proscribing all the people that were in it as they had done to Lachish. And then Vayal from Eglon, Yehoshua marched with all Israel to Hebron and attacked it. I can't show you now in the map, but it's going like that, like circle. All the cities in a circle and going back to the camp. Yerushalayim was left in the side, right? They didn't arrive to Yerushalayim. They captured it and put it, its king and all its towns and all the people that were in it to the sword, and they let none escape, proscribing it all the people in it, just as they had done in the case of Eglon. Joshua and all Israel with him then returned back to Dvir. What does it mean returned? It's like in the circle, going back to Gilgal, and attacked. And again, the same story, he captured it and its kings, all its towns. What does it mean, all its towns? Like we said, it was a main city, and around the city were another smaller towns, and it was all around this kingdom. And like it was in Europe during centuries. It was a city, I don't know, in Berlin, I don't know, and all around belongs to it. And then you have Napoli, and all around belongs to it. So it was like that also in Israel. So it was it kings and all the towns around it. They put them to the sword and proscribed all the people in it. They let none escape, just as they had done to Hebron, and as they had done to Livna and its king, so they did to Dvir and its king. And the resume of all of that, though Yehoshua conquered the whole country meaning all the south side of the country. The hill countries, the Negev, the Shfela, and the slopes with all the kings. What is slopes? Sound of the mountain, right? So sound of the mountain means the water goes down. This is a Ashdod. Okay, with all the kings, he let none escape, but prescribed everything that breathed. Right? It says Kol neshama, all the souls we can translate, but also neshama means dinshom, breathe. Okay, as the Eternal, the God of Israel, had commanded, Yehoshua conquered them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza, all the land of Goshen, and up to Givon. So actually here it's describing all the south of Israel. All those kings and their lands were conquered by Joshua at a single stroke. I will talk about this word in a minute. For the Eternal, the God of Israel, fought for Israel. And then we see in 43, again, the same verse that we saw in 15, then Yehoshua with all Israel returned to the camp at Gilgal. So this is closing the story, right? We open like parentheses, the details about what's happened, and we return to the same point. So here it says, בפעם אחת, all these kings and their lands were conquered by Yehoshua at a single stroke. What does it mean, single stroke? One day, yeah, I know, but one day, we say it can be one day. Maybe it's one day, only one city they stay to the other day, but I mean, it means that they went very, very fast. The day was very, very long, and there's no reason for such a thing, right? It's more logical to say that it was one journey of war, when you go to city after city after city in a very, very short time. Why is it important? It's important because one of the things that Chachamim criticize Yehoshua, we will see, starting from the next chapter, that the campaign of taking the land of Israel was too long. endured too long, too much time. And here, like I said, it's the best situation, the best moment. They did everything very, very fast. They didn't delay, they didn't wait. When you have a good momentum, you must press, you must continue. And that was another good thing that they did in this war that didn't happen in the next war or in the next wars. How long do you think all the things that we saw until now happened? From the moment they crossed the Yarden until this moment. It doesn't say exactly, it's hard to evaluate, but I would say 2, 3, 4 months, maybe. How long did it take to conquer all the land of Israel?
7 years.
7 years. So until here, it was very fast. I mean, Yehoshua and Yericho and the Ai, and then these kings. That the emphasis is Pam Achat, one time. Didn't wait, didn't rest. They say, okay, let's go now for 3 months to rest in the camp. They do one after the other to finish everything fast. But from now on, it was in other rhythm. And the other reason was one of the things that are not seen well. Like here, it's like there are, maybe sometimes when we achieve something that is very hard, and we have this feeling of achievement, we think we can. There is a phrase in Hebrew. I don't know if you say the same in English. To rest, lanuach al alei dafna. You know that as the dafna. You know that the kings of the Romans, they used to put some kind of crown from leaves. What? How it's called? No, it's not fig. It's dafna. It's some kind of, I don't know. So to rest on the leaves of the dafna, which I don't know.
Resting on your laurels.
Okay, that's exactly also in English. Meaning after you achieve something, you see, you can rest. You don't have to hurry up. And this is a mistake. I mean, we never finish our missions until the Chevra Kadishan take us to our final rest. Baileys, right? Until the Chevra Kadisha takes us to our final rest. We always have things to do. It's not time. It's not time. There's no time in this world to rest. I mean, of course, we should live calmly, and we don't have to kill ourselves, but we don't have to feel to arrive to this feeling of I finished to achieve everything. If you finish to achieve everything, what are you doing in this world? You always have the next step, the next thing that you have to do. So here it was, like I said before, the perfect situation of the combination of our behavior, the intervention, divine intervention, and everything was very good. And then Am Yisrael returned to the Gilgal, and then next time we're going to see. I mean, the still was very good, but starting to see the problems, the little problems that. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, Joe and Phil, for the breakfast.
Yeah.